Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back again with another installment of our Beyond Omega Level series where we discuss the most powerful characters in comics. And today we are breaking down a character that is relatively obscure, having only appeared in about 3 issues, but who is arguably the second most powerful character in Marvel Comics. Yes, this guy is arguably more powerful than the Living Tribunal, and of course the character that I'm talking about is the Fulcrum, created by Daniel Knopf and Charles Knopf, and first appearing in Eternals #7 in 2009. But before we get into the Fulcrum's first appearance, we need to establish what was going on with the Eternals at the time. And at this point, the Eternals basically found themselves in the middle of a civil war, with one side including Ikaris, Makkari, and Sersi, who were loyal to their leader Zuras, and the other side who had rebelled against Zuras, which included Druig and Gilgamesh, who'd basically been brainwashed by Druig to murder Makkari. Now, Druig had also destroyed the Eternals' activation chambers, which takes away their immortality. And so when Makkari dies, a failsafe is triggered that will end with all life on Earth being destroyed by an army of cosmic creatures called the Horde. Now, out of desperation, Sersi sacrifices herself to resurrect Makkari, because without him, the Eternals cannot communicate with the Celestials, and she finds herself in the afterlife sitting at a bar and talking to a bartender named Jack, who informs her that she is not in heaven or hell, but in a place called the Vestibule. Now, he explains that this is sort of a holding place for Eternals when they die, and either wait to be reborn in an activation chamber or go on to the place called Lacuna, which sounds like the final destination for the souls of Eternals, but it's merely speculation because Jack refuses to describe it with any more detail. Now, when we see a conversation between the Dreaming Celestial and Uatu the Watcher, the Dreaming Celestial had basically been visited by Makkari and had told him that the preliminary horde was on its way to Earth, and he tells Uatu that he is now experiencing emotions, which is not compatible with his mandate. Now, this would normally mean that he needed to shut himself down and compress himself into a black hole, but he says he cannot do that because he needs to get vital information concerning Earth to the Fulcrum himself, but offers no additional details as to who or what the Fulcrum is. Now, back on Earth, Ikaris has gone rogue and picks a fight with Druig in violation of a treaty that had been agreed to by Druig and Zuras. Now, Ikaris gets Druig's forces to follow him to Alcatraz Island, which at that time is where the X-Men lived, and they join the battle on Ikaris' side in what seems to be a way to justify putting Wolverine on the cover of the next Eternals issue to basically try and sell more copies of a book that was about to get canceled. But anyway, the X-Men, who really shouldn't be able to put up much of a fight against the Eternals, are actually able to hold their own because of teamwork, I guess, but that's really not that important to the overall story. Back in space, the Dreaming Celestial is confronted by the Horde, which is making its way to Earth. Now, the Celestial tells the Horde that if it tries to attack him, the Horde will be punished by the Fulcrum, but the Horde responds by saying that the Fulcrum will actually punish the Celestial if he doesn't stand aside. So from this exchange, we see that the Fulcrum seems to be pulling the strings of this whole event, and that both the Dreaming Celestial and the Horde are simply carrying out a plan that was set in place by the Fulcrum. And furthermore, that both of these extremely powerful entities are at the mercy of the Fulcrum, that he could destroy any of them if he wished, is a testament to how powerful he is. So the Celestial informs the Horde that the amount of life force energy on Earth would exceed the maximum storage within the Horde if it were to harvest the planet, and that if the Horde proceeds with its plan, all matter in this quadrant of the galaxy would simply be destroyed. Now, the Horde then decides that it will proceed towards Earth anyway, bypassing its storage and channeling all energy it absorbs to the all-high Fulcrum. The Celestial then goes to inform the Fulcrum of the Horde's decision, and the Horde arrives on Earth, which forces the Eternals to stop fighting amongst themselves and turn their attention to the Horde before it destroys all life on Earth, as not even Celestials are able to stop them. And so to do this, they decide they need to come together to form the Unimind, which will allow them to take over the body of the Dreaming Celestial. In order to do that, however, the Eternals have to select a Prime Eternal, and when Zuras shows up with the rest of the group, they decide to make Ikaris the Prime Eternal, and the Unimind takes over the Dreaming Celestial's body. But while this goes on, the Celestial's consciousness is still talking to Uatu, who informs the Celestial that he has developed free will, which he uses to allow the Unimind to inhabit his body to fight the Horde, while his consciousness goes to appeal directly to the Fulcrum and spare Earth. Now, when we see the dreaming Celestial enter the vestibule and start talking with Jack the bartender, who's revealed to actually be the Fulcrum, he tells the Fulcrum about the changes to his programming, his development of emotions and a conscience, and asks the Fulcrum to spare Earth from the Horde. Now, the Fulcrum agrees on the condition that the Celestial can answer two questions, the first simply being why, to which the Celestial responds, because I care, and the Fulcrum commends Tiamu for being the first in the history of time to ever ascend to question the Fulcrum's will and become a free-thinking Celestial. He then declares the Celestial to be his equal and asks his second question, which is whether the Celestial will come with him to destroy the Horde. And then we get to see this epic battle with the Fulcrum and the Dreaming Celestial fighting side by side to take down the world-devouring Horde. Just kidding. We see nothing. The story jumps forward over 100 years into the future with the Eternals once again in hiding. However, one of them, Joey Athena, the son of the Eternal Athena, has been located by Michelle Urich, the granddaughter of the Daily Bugle reporter Ben Urich, and he just tells her that the Fulcrum restored all the damage done by the Horde and set everything right, and that no one even remembered the Horde's attack. And that's really all we know about the Fulcrum, because like I said, he's only appeared in 3 issues that make up this story arc. Now, some have theorized that the Fulcrum is actually not a separate entity, but instead is simply one aspect of the One Above All, and they point to the fact that he takes the form of a man named Jack, and the One Above All was once depicted as being Jack Kirby. But there's really nothing in these issues that indicates the Fulcrum has anything to do with the One Above All, except maybe that he is referred to as the All-High by the Horde. But either way, the fact that he is pretty much omnipotent in the sense that the Celestials and the Horde, both of which are cosmically powerful beings, answer directly to him, earns him a spot on our Beyond Omega level series. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think, right? Do you want to see more of the Fulcrum? Do you think he should appear more? I'm kind of curious. Maybe I think he's one of those characters who just needed to be a one-off, and that's it. There's no real purpose in having his character return. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.